Hello. Most times, nothing ever prepares one for a loss. And no matter the kind of loss you suffer, it's often said that there's no right or wrong way to grief. Now, grief is a natural response to loss. Loss comes with a whole lot of emotions. Let us discuss, learn, and grow together. It is Weekend Deal, coming to you from the network service of the NTA. My name is Patience Eloy Abba Thelma.
Hi everyone, hello Patience, always great to have your company here and elsewhere because you were also there at that time. No experience in life prepares one for a demise. You know, there's loss that is permanent, sometimes it's temporary. Sometimes even loss is a split, a breakup in marriage, yes, a divorce or a separation. But a death, you know, is so permanent and nothing in life can adequately prepare you for it. Our program today is going to share the experiences of many of us within the NTA here, other parts of Nigeria, and in fact, the globe. Welcome to Weekend Deal. My name is Thelma Obaze. Today is quite a unique one. We're talking about loss and trauma. Loss and trauma can be devastating, and no one can tell you how to act. It can affect you mentally, psychologically, emotionally. It devastates you. You think you're going to fall, you're going to drown. But oftentimes, if you can stand through this and know that it will be better on the other side, indeed you will pull through. Semben takes us on a very interesting journey with a psychiatrist.
Loss is associated with the experience of being deprived of someone or something valuable, whether it be a loved one, relationship, a job, a pet, or something that holds a special place in your life. Trauma, on the other hand, refers to an emotional response to a distressing event or situation that exceeds a person's ability to cope. This may lead to a long-term psychological and emotional impact on the person's life.
Yes, loss is the grief you feel when you lose something of value. So there's a grieving process. And you know the 5 stages of grief. You have your denial, then your anger, then your bargaining, then your depression, and then finally acceptance. So you go through that as a process of loss. Trauma is escalated. It's an escalated loss that is beyond what is considered to be normal physiologically. And there you have things like wars, natural disasters, sex, sexual assault.
Grief is the natural emotional response to loss or trauma. It plays a crucial role in processing and coming to terms with what has happened. It allows individuals to express and work through their emotions. Psychiatrists say there are generally 5 ways of coping with grief, although not everyone experiences these stages in the same way or order.
The major thing is to stabilize the patient immediately afterwards, you know. So there's that initial window of opportunity where you can quickly assess if there's been physical damage. You know, when it's rape, you want to do your rape kit, and if there are any injuries, physical injuries, for instance, natural disasters or armed robbery. And then you have to screen for post-traumatic stress disorder after a month, when you have, you know, hypervigilance, increased startle response, you have avoidance behavior, you have increased in anxiety, and so you have flashbacks and nightmares. Because if a proportion of people with trauma are going to go on to develop post-traumatic stress disorder, and they're going to need to have medical treatment. Treatment of loss involves identifying the impact of the loss on the functioning of the individual. You know, what differentiates something that needs medical treatment from something that doesn't necessarily need medical treatment is the degree of impact on the functioning of the individual. If you're not able to, do the normal things you do every day, interact with people, work, go to school if you're a student, if it affects your studies, if it affects your recreation and other areas of functioning, then you definitely need psychiatric and mental health support.
Family members and friends can provide emotional support, understanding, and a sense of belonging during the coping process. Culture also plays a significant influence on how individuals and communities perceive and cope with loss and trauma. Different cultures may have unique rituals, beliefs, and traditions related to grief and coping, which the society respects and follows in the healing process.
There are some people that theorize that unless trauma and loss and grief, unless they are processed through the community, that it's very difficult for it to completely resolve. You know, because of the isolating nature of trauma, you go through disbelief and shock, and so many people withdraw to themselves. As a community reverses that, you can stand united in community and process grief together as a community. It's also a way of honoring the victims. For instance, if there's bereavement, you honor the victims. You can set up a memorial. You can have a public funeral. These are all ways you can set up a GoFundMe page for those in need after a natural disaster or a terrorist attack. These are some ways the community can come together and unite around a trauma.
Sit back and take the journey with us on this edition of We Can Deal as we go through the stages of coping with loss and trauma.
We can deal. Loss will occur in all our lives at different stages. How you manage it is what we're talking about at the point when it happens. How you manage, how you survive, how you surmount. We have a guest who survived and is still surviving and is touching lives with the ideas and foundations that he has set up. And let's meet and greet JB Tavishima. He runs an NGO. Welcome to We Can Deal. Earlier on, we introduced JB Tavishima, and then we got to see the profile. He is here with us. You're welcome to We Can Deal.
Thank you so much. Nice having me around.
Some of us have been privy to your information and how your foundation got set up. But for our guests who are watching, who may not know already, please share about your journey. What happened that led to the birth of your foundation?
4 years ago, 15th of September 2019, my wife and children were traveling to Benue to visit my mom. And on Nasarawa Egom Road, a truck disengaged its arms and crushed them into the ditch. I lost my wife and 3 children. I was supposed to take them to Benue on that day, but I was on duty because I had about 140 guests that were coming to the country for hepatitis summit. As a protocol officer, I was at the airport to see how I can see them through to their visas on arrivals and all that, so I couldn't take them to Benue. So I was at work and something just told me that, guy, you have lost your wife and children. And then I told Mr. Edward, that Mr. Edward, I think my wife and children are dead.
I don't understand. At this point, you've not heard officially that they are dead. Something just told you that you've lost your wife and children.
Yeah, and nobody
no
believed
phone
me.
call, nothing.
And nobody believed me. Yeah, nobody believed me. I was with Mr. Edward in the office. We were on duty on a Sunday. And I just told him, Mr. Edward, my wife and children don't die. And he said, you joke too much. Why will you be playing over your family like that? Because on a Saturday, we were together in the office. You know, we had a summit, so we were coming to work all through. So Mr. Edward said, no, Jebe, you play too much. I said, no, my wife and children are dead. You know, for like 10 minutes, I told him that, Mr. Edward, my wife and children are dead. I now called Mr. Nekan.
Who is Mr. Nekan?
Mr. Nekan is my mentor. Mr. Nekan is from Akwa Ibom. Mr. Nekan is somebody who has seen me through my life. He has made me who I am today. I was living in the same house with him.
And near your family, of course.
Yeah, of course, my family left. We slept in the same house before they traveled. Yeah, so I called him and I said, Mr. Nekan, it's like my family, my wife and children, they are dead. He said, no, why will you be telling me this thing? I said, no, I'm just feeling it. He said, okay. I said, I want to trace them. He said, I want to let him have his bath. I said, no, you can't have your bath. I want to trace my family. So he just jumped into the car and drove with his wife. They met me in the office. My office was in River's house as of that time. So when they got to River's house, this is a filling station by police headquarters. So we got to the filling station to fuel the car, and I told the wife that, madam, you can't follow us.
Okay.
She said, why? I said, no, we are carrying dead bodies, and with you, I don't think it's possible for you to.
Sorry, Mr. JB, I'm cutting you, but I don't understand how certain you can be when you have not had any official call or anybody telling you that there was even an accident.
You see, there's something about life that people don't understand. When you are intimately inclined with people, there are signals. These are natural signals. They come to you. It's just like they say, follow your heart. You know, follow your sense of feeling. It's very important. If you're going somewhere and your mind tells you that, this place you are going to...
That's your intuition.
Yeah. Then you have to be very careful. Their spirit came to me unknowingly, and I was acting on it. And physically, people were like, what is this guy doing? But actually, I was doing the right thing, you know, because I was feeling it. I was seeing it as if I am watching a screen and interpreting. This is exactly what happened to me.
But
Nobody
can I
told
ask you
me.
a personal question? Before this happened, before this crash, was communication, some could call this a kind of telepathic communication. Had that kind of thing ever occurred between you and your wife? Maybe she was somewhere, she was having a challenge, or she was in danger of some sort, and you felt it? Or was that the first time?
Of course. When I got married to my wife, because of the intimacy, this is just a secret for men. When you love your wife so much and your wife loves you, it's even hard to have an external relationship.
True.
It's hard. I tried to see how I can have a side chick, but it didn't work out for me.
Because of the way, how close to of
And
you
I didn't want to disgrace myself, because there were certain times that I made move and I messed up. Oh, this guy, you know, the rise. That feeling, you know, your wife's picture is in your mind, and then you can't do anything.
So going back to that
let's
day,
come back to
that day.
To that day.
So people went.
So Mr. Nekan met me in River's house. He didn't believe me anyway. So we went to the police station. We both were, and I told the wife, please, can you go home, because you can't follow us. So in the process of driving, Mr. Nekan decided to call Matthew, who is a staff member of my organization in Nasarawa State, that there's an accident somewhere, please, can you help us check? Matthew didn't know I was with a Nekan. And Matthew said, I'm going for a meeting. He's an Idoma boy. He said, I'm going for a meeting, and I need to present my financial report. So I cannot check. And Mr. Nekan said, please, can you help me check? Matthew was 1.5 hours away from where the accident happened. So Matthew decided to say, okay, I will do it for you, boss, because Anekan was our boss. So Matthew drove to Nasarawa Igom and discovered that my family really died. So when he got to the accident scene, no, not the accident scene. The accident happened somewhere along the road and they were moved to General Hospital, Nasarawa Igom. The hospitals were on strike. When Matthew got there, he's somebody who knows my family very well, my children, my wife. He saw my wife and children just put leaves on them. And my daughter, Beauty, wasn't dead, but they didn't know. She was assumed dead. So when Matthew got there, the shock that he had, he started checking on my family and discovered that Beauty is not dead. And he told the hospital people, this lady is not dead. I think she's shaking. Before then, Matthew called Anekan that, this is true. I was in the car driving with Anekan that I just saw Jebez's wife and children. They are broken into pieces. I was in the car with Anekan. That was when Anekan burst into tears.
While you were there?
Yeah. So, you are telling us this thing, we didn't believe you. How did you get to know about this? So, before we got to the hospital, Matthew called on the nurses, although the hospital was on strike. All the nurses, they moved my daughter to the ward, or the, I don't know how to call it, but into the hospital. And the hospital, there was no doctor to attend to the Matthew suggested that, why can't we give her a drip? He said, the hospital is on strike, we can't give her a drip. Matthew went to Nasarawa Igom market, pharmacy, bought a drip, came back, and there was no syringe to insert the drip. He went back
to buy a syringe.
If there was a sharp medical response,
she would have made
Beauty would have survived.
Beauty would be with us today.
Would have survived. So nobody told me. When I was attending to some guests who came on visa on arrival. That was when my wife called me, but I couldn't pick her call because I was involved in a conversation that I said, okay, after that I'll pick. And then after the phone never went through. When I called, ping, 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 as if she was in a place where there's no network. So I just decided to say, okay, no problem, maybe when I finish I will call. But I think and I feel that she was calling me to let me know that she was involved in an accident.
At that time, had the accident already occurred?
Yes. The accident occurred 4 hours before I left the airport.
And what time did that call come in?
The call came in exactly the time I feel that
she has demise.
Yeah.
Hi.
How was that day for you? You said 15th September?
Yeah.
How was that day for you? After all said, and done, how was that day for you?
You see, when you realize yourself, you'll be able to contain excesses. I have a lot of people that depends on me. I lost my dad 24 years ago. I'm left with my mom. My mother-in-law, who has trained my wife to a very perfect woman. And because of that, the spirit, I don't know how it came, I don't know how the strength came, but I was able to contain every situation. People were looking at me as if, who is this guy? But what was flowing into my veins was so different. I don't know how it happened.
Okay, so that means that, they keep saying that when it comes to grief, there's this first stage of denial. For you, you skipped that stage. There was no stage of denial because you had even accepted it before you were told. So you were not in that stage of denial at all.
No, I wasn't. You know the reason why? When you live with people, especially family, love leads.
Yeah.
Try as much as possible to love. Death is inevitable. But when you live with sweet memories, it supersedes the lost.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The sweet memories will always console you. I've been with you, I've been taking good care of you, we don't have a problem, we go for holidays, you know, we have sweet moments together, we don't quarrel, you know, there is nothing that supersedes the love feelings that I have for you.
How about the hopelessness? How about the feeling of starting all over again, marrying again, starting to have children? Those were your 3 children, those were all you had.
Yeah.
What of that feeling of having to start a family all over again? Meeting somebody new and even start, how did you cope with that?
I never thought of getting married again until now.
Okay, but we'll talk about how it has been from that time till now. But it says it's been 4 years. You must have come across some ladies that took your interest. But you've been busy with your foundation. We'll talk about that when we come back from this package that Fatima has put together.
Each time I hear people calling me widow, I don't like accepting it because I have built that faith for a very long time. I was carrying my daughter barely close to 2 years when I had the experience of losing my husband. On that fateful Sunday when I got a call that he was no more, I was in Abuja in Kuje and he was in Kogi State. And I was alone with my children that evening. In my mind, I look at myself, how am I going to end my life? Trying to cope with these children, they are in school. The experience was somehow very terrifying. One bad thing my late husband's younger sister did to me was the call was so straight, direct call to me. Instead of using my family to call me that this is what has happened, but she just called directly, where are you? Where are the children? She now said, just to tell you, my brother is no more. Your husband just passed on. So I went to the floor and I fell down immediately. I started crying. My baby was still very little that time. We went for the burial. We came back to Abuja and to come and face life all alone. My family members too, most especially my mom, was there for me from day one, even up till now. Looking at my son now, is about 16 years. My daughter too will be 13 by January. So if it is not God, who am I? Seeing my children growing with them and all of that, with all these problems I face, even sometimes you see a lot of family members, even your co-workers, everybody. Sometimes people even mock you. To me, I have learned a lot of lessons, being a single mother, being a widow, carrying all my burdens alone and all of that. But I thank God for the kind of mother that I have. She was there for me. I was meant to mourn my husband for a whole year, wearing black clothes, which I did for that one whole year. One thing that serves as an encouragement to me, each time I'm upset, I always sing a song. And sometimes the kind of work I do too takes a whole lot of my time. Each time I cry, maybe how am I going to succeed, maybe paying their school fees and all of that. It's either God will use my mother to clean my tears or somebody somewhere, somehow. God will always do. If there's anything I will do to keep myself happy, is to always look good. That's what, whether I have or I don't have, I must ensure that I wear that smile on my face. If I go for any party, people may say she loves party. It's not as if I love going to party. It's just because I feel that's the only way I can associate to take myself, to go off the burdens in my heart. So I always go for events, different occasions like weddings, parties and all of that, so that I can associate. When I mingle, I return back home, I don't have anything to think of. Then talking about loneliness, yes, it's a must. When you lose someone, especially your husband, you will be lonely. So at times, I feel so lonely, maybe at night and all of that. But sometimes, because I have the kids around me, having my daughter around me gives me that joy that, yes, you are not losing anything. You have somebody beside you. There was this therapy I worked on, which is singing songs. At every point in time, the administration will just come to just kill the moody aspect of my life, maybe especially when I think of him or all of that. You are too faithful to disappoint me. You proving yourself in my life, and I have come to realize you are too faithful to fail me. Anytime I sing all those emotional songs, there is that reflection that you don't need to remember it again, or it's just something that has happened, you must face it. So I continue to face it with joy. After that 1 year of mourning, I just pick up and I told myself, I have to move on. Some words just kept coming. For how long are you going to wait? If you wait even till the eternity, you will not see this man again. So why not move on with your life? Be strong for your children. Take care of them. If you are the type that is passing through this trauma, I want to tell you that with God, all things are possible. If anyone would tell me when this thing happened 10 years ago that I will cope, I will say it's a lie. For those that have gone, they will not return back again. And for you that you are still alive, be there for your children and make sure you wear that smile on your face.
Susan inspiring us, telling us that the sun will actually shine again, and it will shine the way it used to shine before that sad occurrence. We say what doesn't kill you make you stronger. Our guest is still in the house. Susan said something that if you're alive, you live for your children. Our guest lost it all. There was actually nothing to live for, but he is living and making something positive out of it. The Gumimi Foundation. What exactly does that foundation do?
Yeah, you know, when I lost my family, I was so traumatized that my office decided to introduce me to a psychologist, because in as much as I was trying to be strong, they could see that, you know, this guy is just a moving corpse. So let us get somebody for him to really give us information on how he feels. To be sincere, the day I lost my wife, there's something that happened. When I got to the hospital and discovered the hospital was on strike, I called my auntie who works with teaching hospital in Makurdi, because we're not very far from Makurdi. Because my mind just told me that my auntie can do something for my daughter who wasn't dead. So when I called her, she said, no problem, come. Of course, maybe I called her in her sleep. She has already been retired from that hospital, and the hospital was on strike. There was no ambulance, there was no stretcher and all that. So I drove into Nasarawa Igom, and then I knocked at people's doors and I bought cartons to come and create a stretcher for my daughter, because she was broken. Beauty waited for me, because me and Beauty, we had something in common.
You're very close.
Yeah, I had problems with my wife. When I close from work, my wife is collecting my bag and Beauty is collecting the hugs and the kisses. So there was this day I was sitting outside at my balcony and I could hear my wife telling my daughter that anytime your daddy comes back, I don't want to see you around him, or you will be coming and be hugging, you know, that kind of thing. So me and Beauty had something in common. And then I had a song that I sing for her. So I said, there's one of my uncle in the village when I visited my uncle, before I even got married. He said, beauty, do not take on beauty. Beauty is like a money flower. Oh, you know that kind of song. So I came and I met Beauty.
Oh, Lord.
Mr. Nekan was devastated. See dead bodies. I started packing my children and putting them in the car.
You physically
yeah,
your
I carried Mode. I put her at the floor of the back seat. I went there and carried Junior, put him at the back seat, and then I made a stretcher. Then my wife, I couldn't carry her because she was so heavy. Then somebody helped me. Then I now laid down the front seat and then wrapped my daughter in the carton and put her
Beauty was
on me.
still alive.
She was still alive. She was still alive. So when we got into the car, I asked Mr. Nekan to on the air condition because I was thinking if they on the AC, all of them will wake up.
Oh, Jesus.
All of them will wake up. So I don't know what happened to all the policemen on the road, but as we were passing, they were just giving us go, 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 go. Once we on the light, I don't know, go, 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 go. We got to Makurdi and we went straight to the teaching hospital where my auntie works. When we got there, Beauty was still alive. We took her inside, the hospital was on strike. Before then, I don't know what happened, but people were waiting for me at the toll gate.
They had heard?
Yes, people have heard. It was all over the social media.
Was in the...
So, although I on that car...
Oh my goodness, that's your family.
These are the pictures of your beautiful family.
Although I on that car, Osha, they were waiting for me. So when we got to teaching hospital and discovered that the hospital was on strike, but because the referral letter that was given to me in Nasarawa Egom was for government hospitals. So Odo decided, let's go to Madonna. So when we got to Madonna, that was when Beauty gave out the ghost. It was, if she was attended to but before then I now called my mom and my mother-in-law. I said my family had accident. I didn't want to tell them that they are dead. I wanted them to come and see for themselves. So I'm taking them to the hospital. Please, can you meet me up? And when I got to the hospital, I couldn't open the door, the car door, because they were already inside the car door, because I wanted them to see it for themselves. But sincerely, for 8 months, I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
8 solid months, I couldn't sleep. Anytime I'm in the room, I could see Beauty standing in one corner of the house. I see my wife, I see my children, and all that, you know. Before, we had sweet memories together.
Would you say that is one of those telepathic communications that gave birth to the foundation?
Yeah, you know, my wife was a fashion designer. Oh. So I enrolled into a cooperative house in Jabi. So my wife told me that, with this house, I don't think I can be here with you. Let me go back to Benue and establish a fashion house so that I can support you, because you don't have, your salary is not much. You're collecting this kind of house. If I don't support you, we can't even pay our children's school fees. So let me go back. As of that time they were traveling was when she imported materials that she wanted to use to make clothes for people.
Her business.
Yeah. So when she died, I didn't have intentions of the foundation, but with the psychologist that was given to me, and with the way I was talking to him, he was the one that brought up the foundation. He said, with my interaction with you, I think that is more you need to give to humanity. For that reason, why can't we do something? You know, so he said, this is what you told me. I said, no, I never told you that. He said, no, from my discussion with you, this is what you told me. This is your script that I'm reading. I said, no, I never said that. It's okay, go through it. So we decided to come out with a foundation that treats people with emergency trauma cases, especially accident survivors, where we can lead them to psychological counseling, educational scholarship, skill and vocational training of their choices, which is what I am doing. So I decided to use my wife's fashion house for people who survive road traffic accident, because if we don't have money to take them to school, then what trade do you want to do? And then I also had friends that are engineers, aluminum fabricators and all that. So any skill of any accident survivor that you want to do, I just send you
have
there.
it in your
so
foundation.
So how far have that foundation gone? How many lives can you say you have touched since you started?
When was it set up? When was it set up
was it immediately after, or a year after, or 2 years?
It was a year after.
Okay.
It was a year after, or almost immediately. Okay. Because there was this day I was in the house with my mom, and before COVID-19, something came into my head. Say, people are suffering, things are hard. Why can't you reach out to people? My mother being a widow and the president of widows in my church, she has a lot of widows around. And I called Mr. Nekan I say, something is telling me that I should reach out to widows. So Mr. Nekan gave me 100 kg of rice, 100 kg of beans, onions, red oil, and all that. So I went to the pastor and I told the pastor that I want to reach out to widows. So my mom organized all the widows.
This was in Benue State?
Yeah, this is Benue State, Enkesti Church, low level.
Okay.
So can you imagine that these women came out in the masses, and because the rice couldn't go around,
I was just imagining.
you know, just a cup of rice, you know, and they were so excited.
They were happy.
Oh my goodness.
They were happy.
That was the day I started sleeping after 8 months.
But you know, I'd ask you to hold the thoughts, Mr. JB, because we were just waiting for you to get to the peak where we get to know the impact that your distribution, your donation made on them, and we're so humbled by what you just said. No matter how small the quantity, women oftentimes are very receptive and very grateful. We maintain such an attitude most of the time. We'll continue our conversation in a short while, but we want to take a feature now. And it's one of our own, talking about Randy Diakwabo.
I am a fond person. When I was growing up, I loved watching television a lot, and I felt, I felt I wanted to be on television one day, but something kept on telling me that you will not be good. You are not good enough to be on television, because I was somebody that never liked school from beginning. My mother would push, see my son, go to school. If you go to school, and whatever you want to do, you will achieve it once you go to school, because I wanted to be an entertainer, I wanted to be a musician, to be precise. That first year, they auditioned me for a program called Tell a Tale. It's a storytelling program, and it was a hit. And since then, I started presenting, producing programs, Young Hearts, AM Express. I can go on and on and on. So it was part of my life. I didn't know any other thing apart from television. The producing program, presenting, that was my life. So all of a sudden, as I was, growing in the job, I had to change cadre, and then that is where I got the shock of my life. I needed to start all over again, and I didn't even know what I was supposed to do, because I was in a big office that had toilet and everything, and all of a sudden I'm in a place that is confined. I can't even bring my children to work. I withdrew from people. When I was leaving where I was working to this new cadre, I had lost my father. That was another traumatic, experience for me, losing my first parent, and went through a lot, thinking and praying and hoping, and every day I was hoping something would happen, and like joke, it took 2 long years, and then in between, my mother now fell ill early this year, and I wasn't stable at all because she was in Benue, and I had to be shuffling from here to there. After the hospital experience, I now got a letter that I was removed from where I am, and I was to go back to where I used to be, that is being on television and producing programs. And I was so excited. My mother got well that day she heard that. She was happy. In fact, she called all her friends, and they kept on calling me that, my son, you are, thank God for the promotion. I said, no, it's not promotion. My mother would say, shut up. This is promotion for you. This is promotion for you. And she got well for that day, and the next day the situation got worse, and I lost her. I was in a joint watching football. It was on a Saturday evening, and my sister just called me and said, Mama is no more. I can't remember what I did there. I can't remember, but everybody now rushed to me and said, what has happened? What has happened? Till now I'm trying to remember, what did I do? Was I shouting? Was I shaking? And I now got home and I cried like I was crying and shaking. My wife was just, I think she has not seen anything like that before. I was shaking. My children, they've never seen me like that. We were just, it was just terrible. It was a terrible experience for me. You are somebody that really helped me and made me understand that you are depressed. Just accept it. When I accepted that I was depressed, it helped me a lot. It calmed me down, and I knew that it was something I was going to overcome. It's not by drinking or keeping to myself, not talking to anybody. I'll get home, I wouldn't talk to anybody. I could laugh at work, and just when I get home, I'll just lock up, and my children too will be like, daddy, 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 what is it? And I'll sleep, will not be able to sleep. No. But when I gave it some meanings, I was able to pull myself together that things will get better. Not all days are good days. You have good days, you have bad days. I've had a lot of good days, so this is just one in many. And you know, that's how I was able to pull through. As in, like, you don't expect everything to go on fine for you every time. So, and I always look back at the good times, how I made it happen, how I was a happy person, how people loved me, how my parents, I was the whole world to them. And you know, when I started looking at the positives of life, and the reason for me to be alive and look after my children, you know, feeling that nobody else can give them the love that I will give them, that helped me a lot.
How has it been?
Yeah.
You've given back now to the society.
Yeah, you see, like I was telling you before, that when I started getting my excitement was when I reached out to those widows in the church. And I could see smiles on their faces. They just came, my son, thank you very much. Oh, I don't have salt in the house, you're giving me salt. I don't have onions, you know. They just took just some little quantities. And when I came back home, I was just, all the memories just keep coming. My son, this and that. That was the day I slept. Wow. After 8 months.
Slept through the night?
I slept through the night and the mornings.
That's amazing.
You know, this 8 months without
no
sleep.
sleep.
Yeah. So I started reaching out to people. You know, people started coming to me, do this, do that, you know, and wheelchairs, you know, people with accident.
Bringing in things for your foundation that you could give out.
I started getting, people started coming to me, people in like mind with what I was doing.
To use your platform.
Yeah, you know, so amputated hands, I was giving people artificial hands, artificial legs, and all that. And then people who were learning, because my wife already had people that were learning under her in that category. It's as if she knew that she was going to die, because everybody that was learning from her were widows.
Really?
Yeah, free.
But you've already told us about the telepathy that two of you have. So that connection is beyond what you even imagined while she was yet here. You were thinking in like mind.
I encourage families, husband and wife, very important. The relationship between a husband and a wife is very important. If you think that you are a smart one, then if you lost somebody, if you lost your wife and you have not been in good terms with her, that is where the pain is. The memories that I had with my wife supersedes the death. I still look at her as she's still alive. If you look at my phone up to now, she's still on my screen as a screensaver.
Are still there.
Wow.
She's still on my phone as my
still
screensaver.
there.
I still feel that she's still alive.
And I'm sure you have your children's pictures there as well.
Of course. When I talk to people, they say, guy, why are you not removing this from my phone? I said, no.
Are you thinking of encapsulating your experience in a compendium, like a book, where people can read and be inspired?
That is exactly what I feel. That is why when I was called upon for this interview, I didn't resist. because I want people to learn from my experience.
Exactly.
You know, learn from my experience and be better people together. You know, because a lot of families are being shattered. Marriage is an institution that you really need to understand what you are going through. Courtship is different from marriage.
Way different.
When you are dating your wife and you are not married, the beauty is different from when you are married. When you are married, that is when you start noticing that, this my wife has big nose, or this my wife has long this, you know.
She has body odor.
Body odor. This my husband, he snores, or you know, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So there are a lot of things that are more than what people.
Marriage just brings everything to the fore.
Yeah.
But let me just to write on that question. When you're going to decide to marry again, rounding off, will you be looking at the same quality that your beautiful late wife had, or are you going to be looking for something entirely different in a woman to marry?
You know, I am so disadvantaged.
Don't say that.
I will tell you.
Why?
I will tell you. The reason why I am telling you is when you have a listening partner, it's so difficult for you to engage again.
Okay.
You have a problem with your wife. She reports you to your mom. And your mom calls you guys on the table and still blame your wife. Because my mom gave birth to me, she didn't give birth to my wife. And then my mom is looking at you are the woman that is coming to disrupt my son.
Yes.
And then I told my wife that, please, is it possible for us to settle our problems
On our own, not involving a third party.
And she listened to me. I told her, the day you report me to my mother or your mother, that is the day our marriage is over.
For real?
And she listens.
She listens.
And I was working with the local government when I married my wife. So I come back home 5 o'clock. But eventually when I started working with the governor, I was coming back 2 a.m., 1 a.m., because I was virtually taking care of a lot of things that kept me late home. But because I didn't have appointment later, I was waiting for the appointment later to surprise my wife. So I started having issues with my wife. There was this day I came back home and I saw all my properties outside. I never knew they were my properties because they were packaged in the Ghana Must Go. They were outside the house. So I came back late and I came into the house. I slept. I had a cold reception that night. The next day I was coming to Abuja. So I was now looking for my clothes to wear, and my son told me that, Daddy, your clothes
are clothes, Mr. Tavish.
But we're going to wrap up on this note.
I don't know.
Because it shows she was quite a woman that loved you
yes.
deeply.
Honestly.
And when she was hurt, you were hurt. When you were happy, she was happy.
Yes, and your fights are wonderful. I mean, it's part of the love thing. We fight to love even more. Your story is quite inspiring. My heart has been broken to several pieces just listening to you and all that. And you're a strong man.
Better.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's a plan B for every plan A.
Yes.
And sometimes the plan B will amaze you.
Yes. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it is Weekend Deal coming to you from the network service of the NTA. And today our discuss on the front burner is coping with loss and trauma.
Let's meet our guest, Dr. Atama Chukwuma. He is a psychiatrist. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
We were listening to a story just now about a young girl that she was molested, and it continued almost for many years in different locations. And patients said, we must ask you, that how does it happen? Do they wear a cap, a face cap that says it has happened to me? Why are they always sometimes the most vulnerable?
When it comes to vulnerability, the individual who has been maybe molested or attacked before, maybe at a point they will just start putting up some posture that any little thing that comes near them, they won't know how to resist. Maybe they've lost that resilience as time goes on, and they don't know how to resist it again and say, okay, I've given up. We call it learned helplessness. I've given up. Whatever happens, I'll take.
You said they call it what?
Learned helplessness.
Learned helplessness.
I don't care. It doesn't care what happens again. Even if a person had chance or opportunity of trying to escape from the attack, he won't bother. Just whatever happens, let it happen. After all, I passed through it before. What is the worst that could happen? was not. It should be more than what happened before.
But could it also be that they are blaming themselves? They look at
Guilt,
themselves.
guilt.
Yes.
Victim,
Victim.
victim, what do you call that thing now?
Yes, the
Trauma.
If they were blaming themselves, they wouldn't really try to succumb so fast subsequently.
Oh, okay.
They won't, definitely, because it now brings more guilt again and more self-stigma. So I don't think it has to do with guilt. If it was guilt, they would have also tried to find a way to avoid this subsequently from happening, so that the guilt will not get escalated. So I don't think it's self-blame. I think it's just learned helplessness. They lost the resilience and all that about it, and they don't care what happened again. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we just had a guest who told us about his experience. I've never heard anything like that before. You know, his connection. I don't know if there's anything in science that will talk about the fact that before he was even told that there was an accident and that he has lost his entire family, he knew about it. Please, I know, come from a scientific, I need an explanation for that, although he told us it's telepathy, being close to your loved one, but please, doctor, talk about this.
I think is a bit, one is trying to deviate actually a bit, you know, you're talking of telepathy.
I'm wondering why he heard, is this the sorrow?
No, you see, there is love bond between two people, and when there are this love bond, when the bond is so strong, most time what happens to the one individual, the other individual usually
feels it.
Gets to feel it almost immediately.
If you are very close to
somebody. For instance, a friend told me last week that the wife drove off from the house, and after about 20 minutes, somebody told him, pray, start praying now. And when the wife came back, she told the story of how, just about that, within that 10 minutes, she almost ran into a moving lorry.
You don't say.
So they're in contact, even though there is this connection. It's love bond that connects. It's the love that between them that connects. Yes.
But I want to talk about the role of therapy. Our former guest, our last guest, Mr. JB, did not plan to go for any therapy, but he said his colleagues saw him and said, "This man is a walking dead. If he doesn't get medical counsel, in the long run, it could be more devastating than this." What is the role of therapy when you face trauma or loss? And how well established is it in Nigeria?
The role of therapy really can never be overemphasized when it comes to people who are involved in, who are experiencing or who experienced traumatic experience in their lives. First of all, you know there are stages, you know, you have this, you first of all start denial and all that, you know, anger, bargain and all that. Therapy will actually try to put the person straight to acceptance level first. Okay. Because if the earlier when one gets to that acceptance level, they allow the person to adjust and cope with whatever loss the person has experienced. Yes, that is one. Number two, you see, when it comes to a session, when an individual is able to express and allow another person to listen to, a professional to listen to his or her problems, there is this kind of relief that the person gets. Yes, that relief the person gets. Even if the person cannot solve it, but he listens to it without even saying anything. That is why when somebody, apart from professional therapists, when somebody has any problem like that, and there are people around him to just listen to what he's saying without even saying anything at all.
Just listening.
Listening alone, just listening to the person.
It's a big help.
A big help. And again, even allowing the person to also express feelings, whether the feeling is negative or not. A person can go into outbursts of cry. Those tears are therapeutic. The person is talking to you and is crying, don't stop him from crying. Don't say, no, it's too much, it's too late, it's too much and all that. No. Allow him to really express himself. It will help him, it's to heal him. So to actually help the person to come out to that acceptance level, then the person will be able to adjust and cope with other things, or other things the person is supposed to learn to cope with the adversity that happened to him.
You just said something. You said when the person cries, it's therapeutic.
Yes, it is.
And we're in a society or in a climate where men are not supposed to cry. Men are supposed to hold it in, maybe men.
Men are not supposed to cry.
Well, that's what they say. They say, you are a man, don't cry, man up. Is that healthy?
No, the cry is usually spontaneous. It's not when you go there, you start on your own, start trying to stimulate yourself to cry. Usually it comes spontaneously. When it comes like that, allow the person to just finish and then you now continue talking, you know, to the person. Men can cry, of course. Anybody can cry, but the women are more emotional. And so they cry more than men. Yes.
You know, in our culture or our traditional norms, in our society, even beyond man, it's not the norm to go out and seek wise counsel.
Yeah.
You know, when you lose somebody, the normal people will come and visit you. They come to your home, your friends, you know, people just gather. You are hardly ever alone. Some would have said that that is therapy enough. That is the kind of company you need. How do we begin to tune our minds to this that has been happening many parts of the world, but it's not really like established here? Because I lost somebody. I never thought, I lost my dad. I never said I would go for therapy. And people lose people every day.
Every day.
No, going for therapy, it will not be in every circumstance.
Okay.
It will not be, definitely, yes. When somebody loses someone, we call it crisis. The person is in crisis period, and the person needs people around him. This is actually the time he tests his social capital. You know, how many friends does he have that are close to him that should come around and help him carry out some chores? And the person should not be left to be doing some things he used to do before he should rest. So people around him will now love him, will now start doing those things for him. So people gather around him. It is when he gets out of hand, and start thinking of seeing a therapist. You know, of course, it's not immediately that the person leaves someone and start looking for a therapist.
Okay, in signing out, is there a time limit for grief or for mourning? When it's too long, when is it too much? You said when it's too much, so when is it too much?
Yeah, you know, when it comes to grief, it lasts for a long time, almost for a lifetime, but as time goes on, it reduces gradually. So anybody who is still mourning actively after 6 months, something is wrong. So something.
That's where you should seek
help.
Professional
exactly.
counsel.
Or mourning abnormally, even though it's not up to 6 months. It also stays.
Maybe like hitting yourself on the floor,
or being numb, not
talking, not just looking.
You know, yes, you seek for help.
Okay. Dr. Atama Chukuma, consultant psychiatrist, thank you for coming to add your wise counsel, medical opinion to our conversation today on Weekend Deal. Weekend Deal goes on a break. We urge you not to go away.
Today it's been all about coping with loss and trauma. Loss comes most times or sometimes most unexpectedly, and it throws you to the deep end, confused, not knowing what to do. But today we've heard stories of people who have had the most traumatic losses, but they're on the other side. It just shows you that truly there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Keep hope alive. Thelma.
There's always light at the end of the tunnel. And you know, we often also say that the night is darkest before dawn. Dawn will break. Keep hope alive. Yes. Something good is still out there for you. And let's always stay kind to each other. And remember that we're not immortal. We're not immortal. Be kind to another, help each other, lift somebody up. Because you never know what that person is actually going through and what their hopes and aspirations are. God
Use your
bless
words
Nigeria.
kindly, yes.